immediately forgotten the categories. One is social.
Business.
Today's the 15th.
Wow, that intro could not have gone any worse.
I'm still confused about the rules of competitive eating. I can't. What kind of savage thinks it's okay to count food eaten if it's just stuffed in your cheeks? Because my mom, growing up, that was not a rule. I was not allowed to just put something in my mouth. She had to see it go down.
Well, you do have to stand there until you finish it, but that can be after the time limit.
It's not fair.
Well, some people agree with you. Some contests won't stop the clock until you stop chewing.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Important. It's important for us to discuss that here on the news.
That's why people came for.
Where people weren't privy to the prior minute of conversation.
Yeah.
So instead, let's talk about Verizon. It seems that maybe Verizon is feeling a little bit of the heat, don't you think? Maybe a couple of 1,000 degrees. Maybe the cord cutters are getting to them because they have capitulated.
Verizon will finally sell you TV without a contract. Turns out people don't want to buy TV without a contract because of, as the stock photo indicates, Prime Video, Netflix, Apple TV Plus, HBO Max, and Hulu.
And Disney Plus is not on there either.
Quite a terrible stock photo.
Yeah. It's too many.
So there are still 5 options for bundles, but you don't have to have a contract, and they've separated the internet and TV. So you don't have those bundled together at all anymore.
Also telephone. There's a lot of incentives for getting telephone service. Because they get subsidies for that, potentially.
And they still have YouTube TV as a thing. So there's still a lot of options. It's still wildly confusing. But if you don't want to be a part of it, the month after you get all those hidden fees and your bill's like $20 more expensive than you thought, you can walk away. You can cut the cord over and over. Meanwhile, we talked about PayPal paid a lot of money. How was it? How many billion dollars?
$4 billion.
$4 billion for Honey, which is a browser plugin. And wow, that's a lot of money. And Amazon might have been a little salty that they didn't get it.
Amazon takes a swipe at PayPal's $4 billion acquisition. The retail giant warned holiday shoppers that Honey, a popular browser extension, was a quote-unquote security risk. Honey denies the claim. So how does Honey make money? Affiliate marketing. They can use an affiliate link. When they give you a coupon for something, typically the companies that issue the coupons in the first place will give you some kind of an affiliate code for that. We've done that. A lot of people do that. Honey just aggregates that and does that in bulk. There's not really a financial incentive for them to sell your data. That's what they've always argued in the past. But with PayPal's acquisition, things are a little muddier.
And PayPal already has a record of you, just like the credit card companies do. If you use PayPal, don't think for a minute they can't join your credit card that you use to fund PayPal with your credit card that you use for Honey transactions. They're definitely building your profile. This stock photo is fantastic.
I like that. It's cute. Would you say, you said Amazon was salty, would you say they need to sweeten up?
I'd say they would like
Honey,
to.
yeah.
They may have bid too low to sweeten up because $4 billion is low. Now, are the dollars, they're going into the box or coming out?
I think they're coming out. I think that beekeeper's releasing the bees.
But this one's down here.
Well, he's coming out. It takes a minute. They don't just fly out instantly.
If you would have told me 10 years ago that it would be possible to sell a browser plugin for $4 billion, you know what we would have been working on for the last 10 years?
I can't imagine that's that complicated.
No, it's not.
Yeah. That's an easy $4 billion right there.
An easy $4 billion.
Yeah.
It makes me think even more, like the imposter syndrome, really pegged when I see things like that. Like, I'm just an idiot.
What do you think the next thing is? Actually, we probably shouldn't mention it.
Yeah, don't mention it. Someone will take it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Amazon, it's kind of funny that they would say this about customer data, right? Because that's the whole thing. They were popping up a little thing. It's like, oh, PayPal's stealing your customer data.
Remember
Be careful.
Ring?
We want to take care of your customer data. We're such good stewards of it. Don't trust these other people. And then you see this headline.
Amazon employees leak customer data to a third-party agent again. So it's not the story that we reported on in the last episode of the news.
This is a different one.
Or the one that we reported on a couple of months ago. This is another instance of that because Amazon's like, hey, we want to do business with you. We got customers in this segment. How can you use this data so we can both make some money? And then it was like, oh, wait, was that wrong? Should we not have done that?
But one of the instances was an employee cutting side deals. He was like, hey, I got all this data. throw me a few dollars and you could have it. And they caught him. And so Amazon has proven in every aspect it does not protect your data. It can't, in fact. It's so sprawling. But then it has the balls to point that finger.
At Honey.
That finger dripping with honey at PayPal.
At least prior to the PayPal acquisition, Honey does seem to have done a good job safeguarding data. But now with the PayPal acquisition, I would say that given PayPal's business, don't count on it.
Well, CES happened, and perhaps number one on the list of things that seem exciting but aren't is the Intel discrete GPU. Oh, do you want it? Well, you can't have it.
Intel's first discrete GPU is built for developers. XE graphics will appear later in 2020 at double the current Ice Lake performance. So you've got NVIDIA and you've got AMD. Player 3 has entered the game.
Not really.
No, not really.
Yeah, but not really.
There's not really good performance here.
Well, even if there was, they will not sell you this. It's going to be part of the CPU eventually, but this is just so people can optimize things for it. So they showed this off, but you can't get it.
It's a lot of CES, unfortunately.
But some things that you can get, and I'm guessing that this audience is probably really excited about it. Oh, that's not predictable at all. Was AMD. And yeah, they had some mobile stuff, but who cares about that, right? Everybody's going to talk about the processor, which has such a clever pricing model.
AMD unveils Ryzen 4000 mobile series with bold performance claims and the insane 64-core Threadripper beast. So the story, like the headline, if you watch the CES coverage, the Intel stuff was not really as much as the AMD stuff. So it sure seems like AMD is going to take the win, although it seems like in AMD's presentation they were careful not to make any direct claims about battery life. So battery life would be the thing that I worry about most with mobile Ryzen 4000. Meanwhile, Intel was showing, gains in their 10 series laptop parts, but not as dramatic as the gains that AMD was showing in their parts. And so will the gains from AMD be enough to overtake Intel's gains? Well, the laptops are coming soon, this quarter, like just weeks away. We'll see.
So they need to get swole.
Yeah.
Also, make them gains.
Also, 64-core Threadripper, which is it's 64 cores, but it's not twice as fast as the 32-core because it's still in that same 280-watt power envelope. That's going to be interesting.
The 3990X, which costs
$3,990.
Get it? It's the same number. It's the same number as the model.
Each X costs $1.
How clever. Also announced at CES to perhaps...
Almost as an afterthought.
Well, there's no fanfare here because what are we getting out of it? Nothing.
Thunderbolt 4 arrives in 2020, but USB will remain the king of PC ports. So, again, Intel mentioned Thunderbolt 4 in one of their presentations, but it's not PCI Express 4. It's not faster. It doesn't seem to be faster than 40 gigabit. I don't know why. They just sort of mentioned it offhand, like, oh, these laptops are going to have Thunderbolt 4. And it's like, okay, well, how's that different? And there's like, well, they're 40 gigabit.
It's 4. There's 4. It's different than
Thunderbolt 3 is
3.
40 gigabit. I don't know.
No, this is 4.
One of the super annoying things with Thunderbolt 3 is if you are running a 4K 60 hertz display, there's not enough bandwidth for 5 gigabit USB 3 left over. So you can't have both at the same time. That's annoying. If they fix that, I'll be happy.
And also, USB 4 is going to be the same bandwidth.
Yeah.
So,
who
cares about that? Well, China had some interesting news. We talked last week about Tesla's big quarter. They announced some big numbers. The stock price is just through the roof, and they delivered a bunch of cars, 1,000 of which were in China. And arriving in China to celebrate that this week was Mr. Musk himself, making a big ass out of himself. But everybody seemed to love it.
Stripteasing Musk launches Tesla SUV program in China. He took off his jacket. I think that at least I watched the video and he didn't seem to take off anything other than his jacket.
Well, this T-shirt was the picture of the facility. So that was like he was revealing it. Look at these drones. Disgusting.
Are we gonna cover the story? The other one. about him.
No, we don't have a story about that. Why don't you break that one, Krista?
I'll break that one. I think he has a child number 6 on the way.
Neat.
He has a ton of kids.
I had no
which
idea.
I did not know until I
Yeah.
looked that up the other day.
It's with his musician girlfriend that he has been with on and off for a while. Maybe not off. I don't know. The tabloids have a field day, but maybe that's just.
Yeah, I can't actually tell.
But this
Wikipedia did not mention her as his current girlfriend.
This is based on her very cryptic tweeting. Some topless photos with creepy like babies rendered onto her stomach.
So it's like, it could just be she has gas, she could be pregnant. We don't really know.
Well, she talked about being feral and pregnant in some of the tweets. And then Musk has been making some weird tweets with baby emojis. So it's all. They're
We
just
could
having
just send
fun.
out a birth announcement, but no.
It's not what you do when you're a billionaire. I'm sure that will be a very stable, loving household to grow up in. It won't be
Like I
weird
said, he's
at all.
got like 5 other kids. I
Perhaps
never
the other
knew
5
that.
children can comment.
They're watching this news program right now.
Those are the before kids, Krista. They don't count.
First wife.
They get a nice check every month and nothing else. None of his love. We've been talking about the California gig economy law. It was celebrated, and then it was sort of riddled with exceptions, and then it was sued, and now the escalation continues.
Uber stops upfront ride pricing in response to California worker law. So if Uber prices it like a taxi, then maybe they're exempt. That's their new strategy anyway.
We'll see.
The time is based on mileage and time spent in the car, which are not necessarily exact given traffic and some other factors.
Yeah, they give you an estimate. Now, they will still give you an upfront price for ride sharing.
Because that was exempt in the law, the California law.
So it got way more confusing to get an Uber, I guess, is the thing. Oh, I meant to put these together. I slipped that Uber
Look
in
what
between
you've
them.
done.
What have I done? Well, Mr. Musk had other things to celebrate other than his, his breeding and his breeding new cars in China. He's also populated a bunch of seeds in space.
Space seeds, no.
Oh.
SpaceX kicks off a busy year with a launch of 60 more Starlink satellites into space.
Oh, I just blasted them all over the horizon.
Do you think NASA's like, please tell us where you're launching these? He's like, no.
Oh, I think he has to tell the FAA, but I don't know if NASA gets any information about that. So this was kind of a routine launch, and one of many, many more to come. I think they're going to put up, 1,500 of these things?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a problem though at one point where was it NASA who had a satellite up in the air and they didn't know where his were and they almost collided?
Yeah, well, that's a common problem just because it's getting so crowded up there, and the tolerances, it's miles.
Yeah.
If you get within miles of somebody else, then it's like, oh God, what's happening? Because if they bump, that's it.
Yeah.
And they can't be replaced. I mean, well, they have to be replaced. They can't be repaired. So we talked about the Mobike last week, and Mobike was having a bad time. That was a Chinese company that went into business in Britain, I think. And the British people maybe didn't have the same respect for the bikes that they thought.
Did they throw them into the harbor?
They threw them everywhere and, burned them and stole them and painted them and things like that. And now we're finding out that Lime may be also getting into some birthing pains here.
E-scooter startup Lime has shut down in 12 markets, and they've laid off around 100 people. In a move that surprised no one.
Is this Lime
This
exiting
I
the
like
market?
this picture. It's cool, yeah.
It's like, oh, we were here.
It's very
now
graphic.
We're gone. So yeah, tough to be profitable when people can literally just take your product and steal it at any time. There's nothing you can do about it. Because I can tell you that any major metropolitan area that's big enough to have Lime scooters has a police force that is way too overtaxed to worry about a Lime scooter.
Yes.
So you're kind of just screwed. And I think the criminals have figured that out. Amazon, of course, we talked about the terrible, terrible security of Amazon already. And this story should have gone with that. But once again, I failed at the sword. And that should be... It should make this even more disturbing. Because Ring is broken. They can't hang on to their data, even from the shopping stuff. And yet, millions and millions of more data points are fed to them every day because of hapless consumers.
Amazon sees Alexa devices more than just double in 1 year. At CES, the e-retailer boasts hundreds of millions of voice-enabled devices. I got to think that Amazon is stuffing the numbers here a little bit because they're just putting Alexa in everything. So this is not like, oh, we've gotten a lot more users to use the device. It's that we've put it literally everywhere. It is listening literally everywhere.
Yeah. My aunt and uncle got one.
Did you tell them?
Christmas time. Yeah. My mom told them through me because I have converted my mom over to the no smart device thing. And they were like, oh, well, we love it. We can play music on it. And it's like, oh, guys.
I like how they're not really fending off your argument at all.
They're just like, yeah, but it's like, more fun.
No, but look what it does.
Yeah.
Oh, who's going to have time to listen to us argue? It's like...
That heroin's going to kill you. No, but it feels so good. So, yeah, maybe stay away from that. But I know the satellite radio industry does that. So, even when you buy a used car, you get so many months for free, and they count that as a sale. And so anybody that buys a car counts as a radio sale, which is ridiculous. But that's the world we live in. So don't trust their earnings numbers either. Spectrum. We talked about Frontier, and they're discussing like their ghost modems that you get charged for even though you own it. But perhaps that's not quite as bad as selling you something and then literally just pretending that they never did that.
Spectrum kills home security business and refuses refunds for owners of now worthless equipment. So if you sign up for Spectrum Internet and get the Spectrum Home Security with the cameras and the thermostat and all the smart devices and all this other kind of stuff, you paid money for that. And then you also paid money for the ongoing service. Well, it's not a thing anymore. It's gone. And your devices can't be used with another service.
Yeah, you might be thinking, oh, no big deal. I'll just, I'll set it up on my own. I'll set up a Linode. And I'll do it all on my own cloud. Nope. There's security in those devices, and they will not work. There's no open source alternative that you can install onto them.
Why?
Maybe
there will be soon.
Maybe you can pull out the sensors and build your own. The cameras. Probably just all those people are just going to get rings. Disgusting. Disney Plus is the hot new streaming service, and I haven't seen any numbers lately. They were doing very well in the beginning, but then they gave that free trial, and I think there was a lot of atrophy after everybody watched The Mandalorian and then let it go.
I'll say a lot of people on our forum were very interested in it, but I don't know how many actually signed up for Disney Plus. But
costs a lot of money to host all that data, right, and stream it. And the more you offer, the more those costs go up, which is why things like Netflix will shake things off, which always angers people. Krista, what was your thing that you're always pissed about?
Monsters Inside Me.
Yeah, that's not on there anymore. There was something else, though. I think 30 Rock got removed off there. I didn't like that either.
The good news is Netflix will say, they'll send you an email and be like, hey, I'm getting rid of this. Get as much as in you of it as you can.
See, I always assumed it was like licensing as well.
Yeah, those are time limited.
It's all the costs and everything. So, but they're warning you. They're like, hey, end of this month, this is gone. Go watch it. Get your fill of it. But Disney does not give you the courtesy.
Disney Plus title Disappear Without Warning, bringing confusion to the streaming wars. And they got, there were some...
It goes back in the vault.
Yeah.
Not the vault.
That's literally what happened.
The samples were Home Alone was one of them.
Home Alone 2, The Sandlot.
Pirates of the Caribbean was... Oh, here we go. Dr. Dolittle, Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides. Was that one of the sequels?
Yeah.
Sandlot... So, yeah.
They don't have the same, licensing issue that other streaming platforms have. Like, they own the content.
Because it's literally, we can sum this up. Disney acting as if it is a privilege for you to give them money, and that you get anything in return is at the pleasure of Disney.
They're creating a false scarcity.
Do they not offer anything outside of their catalog?
No. I think it's just Disney, which they own so much, though. It's like...
Interesting. Well, if you were one of the 2 or 3 people who were still hanging on to a Virgin Mobile device. Bad news.
Sprint has pulled the plug on Virgin Mobile. Oh, all your old devices and plans? Nope. Got to get a new one. It's got to be Sprint.
Boost. They're going to switch them over to Boost Mobile. The hilarious thing here is some analyst figured this out 2 weeks early. And I guess it's all just the Sprint stock. I don't know if you could trade on this, but he was like, I've done my research. They have not updated the pricing model for Virgin Mobile for 9 months. There is nothing else in the Sprint world that has not had the pricing model updated for 9 months. They have not updated the webpage in 12 months. So he kind of leaked it, and sure enough, here we are. Rest in peace.
Rip.
Sonos, we talked about them last week. They did a dirty, dirty thing where they'll let you retire your speaker, which means to brick it. So you just chuck that into a landfill and go spend more on the new model.
Go buy a new one.
People weren't very happy about that. But this week it's Sonos who isn't very happy because they claim foul play.
Sonos is suing Google for allegedly stealing smart speaker tech. The lawsuit says, as for a sales ban on Google's laptops, phones, and speakers. How does Sonos speaker technology affect laptops? Because the laptops and laptop speakers are universally garbage.
It's the software has to do with broadcasting to the entire house. And I think Chromecast technology is what they're after here.
Oh, wow.
So all of those devices have that technology in it that lets them pick up one broadcast and then play it on every device that's enabled.
Wow, Sonos has a patent on that? That's sad.
So, yeah.
That's very sad.
So Sonos partnered with Google, and because they wanted Google Play to work with Sonos devices, and in doing so, Google got to look under the hood. And so
I'm pretty sure that anybody could build that thing though, like where like you just stream data over the network, and then anything could listen in over the network and play it. That seems like not a patentable thing.
Well, anybody could do it, but they couldn't patent it. The other thing they brought up, which is funny, is Sonos built a speaker that could mix all of the various data streaming services, right? Like it could pick up, the voice assistants.
Oh, Siri or Google.
It could pick up any voice assistant, and it could, like in real time, switch between them. And all the companies said, you will never do that, or you won't do business with me. So now when you set up your Sonos, you have to pick just one.
Oh, that seems terrible.
Households have to pick.
We've experienced
Can't
that
have
before,
mixed.
where large companies won't allow other companies to appear on the same drop down on a website. We've literally we've had emails from lawyers, and it's like, this is not happening.
We had to build those landing pages for a company I can't talk about because they all wanted to have their own separate thing.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing. Like you could do, you could tell them where you bought their product from which retailer, and all the retailers were like, nope.
Yeah.
You will not put our name on any page that has this name. That's like,
you'll build a separate landing
Come
page
on, guys.
with all our own assets.
that's bad user experience.
Don't care.
Google has a bit of a bad reputation recently for diddling the workers.
We've talked about it a few times.
As they say, you shouldn't dip your pen in the company ink. But I know some people that do that. Anyway, it was enough to scare this gentleman from taking his chances, and he got caught.
Google legal chief is leaving amid sexual misconduct troubles. That's the headline. But the story actually says that he's leaving because, well, Larry and Sergey are out and he came with them. It's like, it's probably time that I take those mountains and mountains of Google stock and just retire myself and let some new leadership come in.
I like this picture. I wish there was a caption on it that was like, man, mid-grab, mid-grope. His hand is like rushing out toward the user.
Now, he says he's leaving of his own accord, but he's not getting the parachute. He's out with nothing, and he only made $47 million last year.
Oh,
What's he gonna do?
I don't know.
Is he gonna have to sell his fourth house?
He's gonna be out on the street.
It's a travesty what's happening to the rich people in this country.
It's shocking. Meanwhile, Google is doing some nice things for us because if you use the one tabs that we post and you look at these news stories, so many of them notification spam. It is disgusting.
Hey, would you like to be notified every time CNN updates a story?
Oh,
No.
I'd like to know your location. Can I know your location, please? And so Google says enough. We will not have any more of that.
Google Chrome to hide notification spam starting February 2020. It's right around the corner.
Firefox already does it.
Yes, Firefox does already do it.
We do this on the Level 1 forum, but actually a lot of our people allow that. So that, like, if you get a message or something on the forum, it'll pop up and be like, you got a message.
That's something you enable, though.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't spam you for it.
We're not trying to sign you up for a newsletter or anything.
Yeah.
It's functional. But this will also block that. But you can, so you can see here, if you want it.
Yeah, it just puts an icon in the title bar.
Which is how it should be. Like,
Yeah.
if you want, you can opt in. If not, it's not spamming you every 3 seconds.
Yes.
You know what I love about the latest version of Google is the thing where you can control the play button for your YouTube videos and music with that little
Oh,
icon.
yeah.
That thing's amazing. Doesn't work with Google Play Music.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
Of course.
you can pause it.
Listen, they're different teams. They can't be expected to sync up on that.
You can pause it, but 20 seconds later, it'll just start back on its own. It's more of a delay button. Google Play Music is such a train wreck. It's disgusting.
Spotify's better.
Well, Krista, I know that you're too responsible to use marijuana and drive.
Yeah.
But
I don't drink or smoke.
some people don't have that level of control, and we need a way to find them. And perhaps now we have a solution.
Company says it's built a marijuana breathalyzer, wants to roll it out by the middle of the year. Do you see what they did there?
This article talks specifically about also being able to detect people that eat edibles.
Well, that's the thing. So they can claim they smell marijuana, which that's never been abused to search a car, has it?
I feel like around here, I mean, it could be a skunk or marijuana. You don't know.
And I'm sure there's some nuances there, Krista, that an experienced police might be able to tell the difference. But yes, the edibles, they don't know if you're just going hard on the edibles and driving around. And edibles are supposed to be such a more extreme experience. I got to think that's way more dangerous. So they need this.
I'd prefer neither, but someone driving a vehicle, yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any proof that this works, but that's not going to stop them. Now, if you're in California and they pull you over and they say, "Sir, I'd like to take a marijuana breathalyzer," for now, just say no, because you don't have to. But if they do this trial period, enough people say yes, and they're able to say, yes, this works, then they will put the law into effect and you won't have a choice.
The company CEO, like, they pull off a mask and it's just Theranos or whatever. However you pronounce her name.
The Theranos was her company.
What was her name?
Elizabeth Holmes.
Holmes. She had a very boring name, but a very interesting company name.
Well, interesting name, but not real.
That was the point I was making. It's that this company also might not be real. We don't know.
We've heard a lot of people screeching about the video game industry this year. Which game was it? Was it Cyberpunk? Where
People are very excited about that.
They made an announcement. They were like, hey, we don't want to crunch our programmers, so we're actually going to delay this for another month or two. Maybe, I think there might have been another one.
Does that come out this year? The Cyberpunk game?
It's like April, isn't it?
Is it that soon?
I don't know. Maybe that's where they delayed it from. But anyway, people seem to be more aware of the fact that a lot of these companies, I know Rockstar is definitely on the list of, like, you don't even get to leave on the run up to a GTA release. You have to sleep there and eat there and do everything there. So people are kind of, I guess, more sympathetic to it, but it's also an opportunity for a certain union.
Major union launches campaign to organize video game and tech workers. So they're saying, hey, it seems like you guys are being abused. This is what unions were created for. Maybe you can pay us some dues and we'll help prevent that. We'll turn the industry around or hasten the acceleration of the jobs leaving these shores.
Or the people who get the visas
And
coming over.
It's interesting because Hollywood, like whatever Hollywood has, is like super protected. Like a lot of those things don't
Is it
go
like an
over.
Actors Guild or?
Yeah, but
Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
one of the areas of Hollywood where historically hasn't been true is like visual effects. So like if you do visual effects programming or the artistry or whatever for it, it's like, no, Philippines? Yeah, that sounds great. Let's have people in the Philippines work on it for $2 an hour.
We've had Sonic and the Cats movie.
Oh, yeah.
Both have had last minute
crunch time.
Can you imagine what that was like?
Yeah, it's probably nuts.
It's a lot of crying. A lot of tears went into revised Sonic.
I like how the programmers are almost always responsible for management's bad decisions.
I think that's true in almost every industry. I'm sure, there's carpenters out there that's going to tell you. Did you see the Boeing
change
thing?
order?
The Boeing, they leaked some emails, and one of them was like, this was designed by chimps or something like that, or children.
Yeah.
They're designed by chimps and made by children. They're just trashing the management because they designed such a terrible plane, and the engineers are like, this should never go into the sky.
I'd like to shake the hands of those engineers.
Some of them were like, I'm not flying home for the holidays.
I might get put on this plane.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's unique to our world. But yeah, it probably is true that you get treated like crap if you're a game developer. So, which is funny because a lot of people have that sort of romantic sense. It's like, I love video games. I'll be a video game developer. They don't realize.
A lot of people think that. So there's a lot of competition, and so people are like, I'll just treat this person like dirt, and then I'll just get another one when they get burnt out.
But also the two things are not like one another at all.
Yeah. I think that there's probably no other technical industry that will more quickly extinguish your inner light.
Yeah. And if you
all of us kind of got a little solemn there.
Yeah, that was just kind of sad for a moment. It's like, oh yeah, that's our industry. Not games, but
development.
But one thing that would be cool to develop for, if you want to get into that game, is reading people's minds.
Ooh.
Oh, imagine how exciting that is. And maybe it's not as far away as you think.
NextMind is building a real-time brain-computer interface and unveils a dev kit for $399. I think this plus high-resolution eye tracking, that might be the interface of the future.
And that's basically what they're doing here. So when it came down to the way the guy explained it, it can't see what you're seeing, but it can tell what you're focusing on. So he described like, okay, if I'm standing here, then you might be looking at my face or maybe not or whatever. But then if I have a glass and I hold up a glass, I can see the change and I'll be like, oh, you're looking at the glass. So they'll be able to detect not just your field of vision, but what you're focusing on, even if you're not looking directly at it. Which seems like a lot of money, but I think I can answer this question for him right now. It's boobs. And sometimes butts, but mostly boobs. Really it's not that hard to figure that one out. Switching over to social media. Now, if you see a lot of Twitter accounts and social media accounts and stuff like that, and it's official or the real, because there's a lot of people that want to get your name on social media before you do. Yeah. That's a big thing. Impersonation is a big thing. I don't really get it. People really like to do it.
Yeah.
But don't try it on Reddit.
Reddit bans impersonation on its platform, but impersonation that's satire will still be allowed. So this is not just impersonation. They're also talking about like deep faking your way into something or making other like fakery and then trying to pass yourself off as whatever. It's like, no, this is not allowed. Your intent can only be satire, and it should be obvious.
What about Instagram reality? How does that fall in this rule?
Well, if you're pretending to be some other thought, it's not okay.
All of them do that makeup so they look like a Kardashian.
It's okay to
That's
emulate.
like not the makeup trend now. Now it's like the e-girl trend.
What's that?
It's just lots of blush. Just cover your face in blush.
How's that an e-girl?
I don't know. I don't even know really what an e-girl is, but I could point like the makeup trend out to you.
I'm sure the commenters will have some insight.
Jenna Marbles made herself into an e-girl this week.
Oh, okay. Wow.
She did a makeover. It was fun to watch.
What e-girl stands for electronic girl?
I guess. No one's told me.
Christy,
I'm not. Listen, I know I'm just young enough that I see these things happening, but I'm not young enough to be hip to what they actually are.
you see it slipping through your fingers.
Yeah,
don't
it's
you?
like, oh no.
It's like the first time you play PUBG and you're like, oh, I'm trying.
And I'm bad.
still not even shooting anybody. What's happened?
These people are all hacking. Or it could just be that I'm bad.
Exactly. And now the Facebook block. People hate the Facebook block, but what can we do? I mean, they're constantly making headlines. And this one is pretty hilarious because we've talked about how terrible it is to be a Facebook content reviewer or moderator. And the things that they have to watch are just horrific. Even the descriptions stick with you, like butchering lizards.
And it's like, oh.
I keep thinking about those lizards, and I haven't even seen it. But your day, maybe that's not the worst part of your day because there's even more minutia for you to deal with.
Facebook is forcing its moderators to log every second of their days, even in the bathroom.
Log.
So this article is about one guy's story, and he's like, when I started, this was a pretty good job. We got a lot of training, and yeah, it was kind of dark sometimes, but blah, blah, blah. And now he talks about how it's like literally they track every second.
And see, I feel like a lot of people were saying, oh, that's just an example of how you do malicious compliance, where you start logging every little thing and then like taking pictures of like your pee in the toilet. And
give them like a firmness scale and a texture rating.
Was this also the one where they were talking about how that you're permitted to make 4 or 5 mistakes a month, but then
98% per month.
But if you make a bunch of mistakes the first week because they're like really terrible videos or whatever, then you're just on edge the rest of the month and you get PTSD for that.
But so it's not only that, but a strike is when you get it wrong. Like you mark it as X, and then I guess they've got like a secondary line that's checking your work, and you have 1 minute to make the determination, and the book that tells you how to make that determination is 10,000 pages.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a tough job. I wouldn't recommend it.
I bet you're not getting paid that well either.
Probably not that great. Now the guy in that story, let's be fair to Facebook, is currently suing Facebook for PTSD. So he might have an agenda. But I don't find any of that hard to believe.
No, that they would log.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Amazon does that. They make you.
Well, Amazon doesn't make you write it down because they're tracking you.
They're just like, yeah, don't.
It's super convenient. Don't worry, we'll track your pee time for you. Also, you should be drinking more fluids. Facebook also made some adjustments, if you can call it that, to its advertising policy. You might remember that everybody's mad at Facebook because they allow whatever political advertising you want to put on there, whether it's true or not. And people were like, hey, you need to revise it. So they didn't.
Facebook's revised political advertising policy doubles down on division. Targeted advertisements will remain on the platform, and the polarization effect of the electorate is likely to accelerate. What this means is that if you want to make just the most horrible Facebook advertisements ever, and then target a specific demographic that is likely to enrage them, you can totally do that. So clickbait. Be aware of clickbait. Try to educate your grandma on what clickbait is, because it's going to happen.
Or don't get any kind of news from Facebook.
Don't even use Facebook.
Baby steps.
Use Marketplace. Check out those
Krista,
hot deals.
That doesn't make it okay.
Hot deals in the Marketplace.
What have you bought from Marketplace?
Literally nothing, but I love looking at it.
Exactly.
Right after Valentine's Day, it's full of engagement rings. It's
That's sad.
Yeah.
Haunted engagement rings.
Haunted, probably.
Facebook also decided to join in on who else did this week? Did we just do a story about this? Maybe not. Did I just have deja vu? Anyway.
Facebook bans deepfake videos in the lead up to the 2020 U.S. election. I had a little bit of deja vu too,
I
but
feel
it
like
was
we've done this story.
I don't know. This is Unrobotica. They did a more elaborate write-up than we've looked at in the past in terms of like Facebook's reason, because it is a little bit weird. It's like you can make a false Facebook ad. We're not going to do fact checking on that, but deepfakes not allowed. And it's like, well,
oh, you know what? I think it was in the impersonation story.
Oh, okay,
but we didn't actually cover that part because this is similar in that parody is still allowed. Some people, like, you ever look at that subreddit, Ate the Onion? it's all screenshots of people responding to Onion articles.
And like
as
they
if
actually
were
think
real.
it's real. Yeah.
So
yeah.
like people are going to respond to parody deepfakes as if they're real too. Some of them.
Because people are real dumb. I mean, imagine how dumb the average person is and realize that half of people are dumber than that. That's George Carlin.
So that's gonna.
That means we're all dumber than we actually think we are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, but then
Ryan's like, I'm not as dumb as you guys, though.
no, I'm prepared to accept that. But then there's also like, so the further you get toward the bottom, those people don't think that at all.
Yeah, that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, where
Yeah.
you think you're really good at stuff.
They
but
are
you're
at the
not.
top of Mount Stupid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quote-unquote smart people that we deal with that are at the top of Mount Stupid, too.
I would accept it too if it was just like they're just dumb in one area. Like that's fine, but it's like they don't understand that like just because you're smart in one thing does not mean you're smart in another.
I'll have you know that I'm an excellent neurosurgeon. I've just never tried it yet.
I've Googled it a few times.
But I'll be
Yeah.
great at it.
I watched House.
And continuing on with Facebook, they made a bit of a faux pas this week because it's all about protecting your identity sometimes, right? Like, let's say that you run a Make America Great Again Facebook page.
Right.
It's not your page. You're the administrator of that page. Well, people can't find that out and come to your house and burn it down. Oh, wait.
A Facebook bug exposed anonymous admins of pages. A bad code update allowed anyone to easily reveal which accounts posted to Facebook pages, including celebrities and politicians, for several hours. This is also bad if you live in a part of the world where certain kinds of speech are not allowed, because now they can hunt you down.
You think the Free Hong Kong Facebook page might have caused a little bit of alarm?
Yeah, the Facebook people, it's just the amount of hubris was just incredible. They were like, no, it didn't expose anybody's private information or anything like that. It was
But it
just
kind of did.
It was just a link to their public profile, whatever they've got on their public profile, and it's like,
You know, there were a lot of people who had, like, you know, they were a moderator on the church group and also like the BDSM group. There was some embarrassment there.
It's like that one guy that we always talk about that was just openly on the Grindr profile. It was like,
Oh yeah, that was very weird.
like, I'm gonna
It
be
was
your,
it was like his public, easily found Twitter account,
I'm gonna be your social media consultant.
and then like the
and then
whole
tweet
Twitter
about
account.
Grindr.
But I don't think there was
Yeah.
any hypocrisy there. Like,
No.
in his mind, I don't think he didn't think twice. It was like, yep, this is who I am.
Well, and it's like
Deal with it.
it's just strange to me. It's like you're literally calling yourself a professional in your description, but then you're going on about all this in your comments. It's weird.
But his response to us saying that would probably be, you know, like the OK Boomer thing. It's like, this is what we do now. We bang anonymously. That's our generation.
Well,
Deal
that's
with
that's
it.
fine, but like, why would you put that on your business page? Like, why do I, as your business associate, need to know that?
Maybe you pick up some extra leads.
Oh, business or otherwise.
Twitter. If you look at Twitter, almost always, especially if it's political, the replies will be just the greatest polarization in the universe. And it's been proven that the most prolific tweeters are the, like, seriously one side or the other political people. Like, they tweet just inordinately more than anybody else. And it can create, and then people respond to that, and it just evolves.
The word I would use for that is insufferable.
Yeah, and so Twitter has been sort of trying to figure out how do we deal with this, and they have a new idea.
Twitter will soon let you choose who can reply to your tweets. I like this bookshelf. This is a very clever idea for a bookshelf.
It's a lot of custom cutting.
Is it shopped or is it real?
You know what would make that bookshelf a lot better? Is if it didn't have that useless space in the middle that you can't
You
put
could put a
books
plant in there.
Yeah, you can put a book in there.
A single
And it would
book.
just slide
Just
down
one.
into the tail.
Yeah, just one in the bottom there.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I mean, you could stuff books in there.
This'll, I have a lot of clients who like they'll ask me about social media stuff, even though we don't really do that here. And they're like, "Should we get a Twitter?" And I'm like, "Well, it can't hurt necessarily." And they're like, "We don't want anyone to like actually call us out on anything, though." And I'm like, "Well, Twitter, you can't hide if someone calls you out." And they're like, "Oh, we don't want that then."
Well, I mean,
now it's changing.
they could still tag you, but this would be great for them. So there's 3 modes. There's regular, only your friends, and the last one is only the people mentioned in the tweet, which is interesting. I don't know. I kind of like that. I like it when companies do something really tone deaf and the comments just crucify them.
Yeah, I
happens
feel
a
like that's
lot.
going to disappear now
Yeah.
because you can choose.
That's kind of sad. It's like when you go to one of those YouTube official videos and you see that dislike count and you're like, oh, this is going to be good. And then comments are disabled.
Well, I
That's
get
so
mad now because
disappointing.
all the news sites don't have comments enabled.
Yeah.
Because that was always like, I mean, there is funny to read the fighting, but sometimes you get someone who had like a really good like insight, and now you don't get that anymore. It's just, you know, the narrative from whatever piece of media you're looking at.
The world burning around us is not nearly as much fun if you can't watch it.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
it's just really hot and uncomfortable.
That's insensitive to the people of Australia. I just realized. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Instagram. Because Instagram is doing a little bit of censorship
The
that
gram.
seems a little bit maybe overreaching. But I guess they're just protecting themselves because these sanction laws, the way they're worded, they're a little overreaching themselves.
Instagram says it's removing posts supporting the Soleimani.
I don't know how to pronounce that. I've only ever read it.
To comply with U.S. sanctions. So the U.S. has sanctions that it's asking Instagram to remove stuff, which seems a little Chinese for me.
And in some
We
cases,
only do that under the radar here.
in some cases, it was just his picture.
Yeah. Well, what is support? Like, what is, you know, because remember we've got that, oh, you can be considered a terrorist too if you're providing material support to terrorists. And it's like,
So there was some
What?
soccer player who's very popular in some part of the world, and he just posted the picture, and they got rid of it, took it right down. It's a little hypocritical because everybody else showed his picture. All the news agencies showed his picture, right?
but you as an individual showing his picture, obviously you're supporting him, right?
Duh.
What if you put a picture of him with like a target on his face?
Well, that was
Or a
mistake.
mission accomplished banner in the background. It's a vintage meme.
And finally, we live in a world where the narcissism is just bubbling over. It's down in the burner and it's cooking onto the surface of the stove. It's going to be real hard to clean. That's probably going to take a war.
Literally going to have to get new burners for the stove.
Oh, it's going to cost so much money. But some countries just have embraced it. They revel in it. And you see things like this, which it's entertaining. It's horrible, but it's entertaining.
Dubai gets its first selfie museum, features 15 themed rooms. I don't know if museum is the right word that I would use.
Now, this is
Fun
not
house,
a selfie.
maybe?
Don't you have to be holding the camera?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is.
She doesn't even look
garbage.
like she's smiling. She's just kind of like, I'm in the bubbles.
I'm in the room.
Do you think those are little hard plastic balls?
Yeah, something like that.
So 15 rooms of this kind of nonsense, and you go through the rooms and you take selfies, I guess.
I think
and-
there's something like this in New York, like an art installation where you do this.
But it's like a pop-up thing, right?
Yeah, I think
This
so.
is permanent, and every 3 months they will refresh some of the rooms, so you have to keep coming back to get all the selfies.
to get all
See-
the selfies.
See,
Okay.
museum, art installation maybe is a better way to describe it. Museum, terrible way to describe what
Yeah.
that is.
I don't know. I think if this were to survive 1,000 years from now, someone who discovers it will definitely get a read on what we were about in 2020.
See, I don't know that you would though, because part of the whole thing with like portraiture and things like that is that you're getting context clues from objects. The only object you see in a selfie is clothing, and since clothing is mass produced all over the world, like it's not a contextual marker of a certain place.
Well, Krista, this one's got bubbles in it.
That could be anywhere. Like this image, you could tell me this is in Dubai, but that could have been in New York. That could have been in Tokyo. Like,
Krista, I don't think we've had a better data point for indicating the fall of civilization. As you know, it's like comparing the fall of Rome with the collapse of civilization. I mean, there's certain parallels here that are just astonishing.
there are actually quite a lot of people who are like, man, this is very similar to the fall of Rome. U.S. is
Oh, yeah.
not doing great.
Well, like crazy leaders. Oh, there was a big fire too.
Yeah.
Man, we're at late stages of the fall of Rome.
I saw someone, this is terrible, on Facebook, I did see someone actually like unironically post like a thing comparing to the fall of Rome. And of course it took many, many years for Rome to eventually fall. But you do kind of think, man, that is a little weird, isn't it? I'm just going to go check out a YouTube video of cats to make myself feel better.
And Friday, we've got some nonsense for you. We brought you down. Friday, going to bring you right back up because the nonsense this week is pretty off the
And
chain.
'cause we want you to watch next week's news too. That's why we bring you back up, so we can bring you back down. It's a roller coaster.
You can laugh with us, and hopefully that will do something for your anxiety, because it definitely does something for our anxiety.
Not really.
Anyway, bye. Love you.